Hi, everybody. I'm Andy Anderson, and this is Corey Leong. We are giving a talk today on how to bridge the gap between academia and open source. I am from IBM Research, and Corey is from Valencia College in Orlando. So our hypothesis for this specific talk is that there's often a big disconnect between academic training that we see happening in universities and institutions and the real world open source development community. So preparing students for the competitive landscape that's out there today requires a lot of different things: modern tools, languages, hardware, workflows, all kinds of things that aren't really regular staples in an academic work, like LFX, ESOC, GSOC, and so forth. They create an ideal ecosystem for students. It's kind of like a petri dish for growing and doing this kind of thing, right? So today we're going to explore how to bridge that gap and why it benefits everyone that gets involved. Now, by way of introduction, both Corey and I are academic scholars, we're PhDs, so we like to make nice little graphs, okay? So if you see stuff like this just helps us visualize and make models and working models in our minds as to what goes on. So if you could see, I just kind of coined this the other day, just based on some of the feedback that I've had and work that I've done in the community. So I'm running this thing called IFOS. It's the Interns for Open Source program. I didn't know that OSPO even existed until a few days ago. So just bear with me. I don't call it OSPO specifically, but IFOS in general sense is an umbrella that covers any academic university or any platform that's out there that wants to offer up talent that students of any age that would like to learn about open source communities. And so we welcome all of those. So in this graph, what we're showing here is you see the students, the community, and academia and how they interact with each other. Students will pay academia for education. The students will contribute to communities in exchange for mentoring and recognition. And then the academic and community relationship, the community informs the curriculum for academia, which is important to keep that current and relevant. And then academia will recommend communities like ourselves. So I represent an open source community called Kubesteller. You may have just seen the nice flashy graphical UI that I had up there. Well, that user interface, that user interface, I'll get back to it in just a minute, was developed in 3 months by a handful of students that came from the LFX internship program. So we simply posted some projects, people applied. We had over 420 applications that we had to sift through. 6 were selected, and they worked with us for a period of a little more than 2 months. And they created this amazing user interface that we've gotten incredible feedback for. So the benefits for the academic institutions, right, is communities like Kubesteller, we offer real-world experience with exposure to industry standard tools like GitHub, VS Code, Slack. I mean, some of these are on the higher end scale, and some are, just easy like messaging platforms, but all the same, they're mainstays for open source projects. So you have to have some experience with those things. That's like the table stakes, right? You also get mentorship from experienced maintainers like myself, right? So even though I'm 25 years into my career at IBM, I've been there for 8. So there's some value behind that, right? So we offer that to the academic folks. There's opportunities also for academia and communities to co-present, like what we have here today. Okay, what the academic institutions get is they gain the curriculum changes that they can make in order to make it easier for students to enter the workforce, and in particular for open source projects. We also can help create and initiate OSPO opportunities, and also grant activity is increased as a result. So the real underlying benefit is increased value to students and faculty, sorry. Now, open source communities will take the other point of view. So this is me for the last 2 to 3 years trying to grow the Kubesteller community. I thought, build it and they're going to come. Just contributors just show up on my front door tomorrow, right? Well, that is absolutely wrong, okay? I had to find another way. So my background, my PhD is in technology adoption. So I found it, build it and they won't come, Okay, that's really the mantra. So the success, though, I found is collaborative models like the ones that we've created in IFOS, in IBM Research, and Koopsteller, and working in conjunction with OSPOS or other collaborative platforms like LFX, ESOC, and GSOC, were really keys to our success. And that's how we increase our contributor levels and hopefully get to a point of more user adoption. It gives us a constant influx of new ideas and energy. We de-risk the project continuance ladder. Okay, so in other words, projects, after a while, we age out of them and we want to go retire and sit on a beach somewhere. We've got to make sure we want to see that project continue on into the future. Mentoring is very rewarding, as I can attest to, and the benefit really overall is increased growth and adoption. Students, there's an endless number of things that are beneficial to students. So you get to learn how to use AI in a responsible way. You have hands-on practice with modern tools and systems. You have productivity improvements. I mean, people just as simple as being able to go up and down arrow in a command line interface, right? I mean, people don't remember to do that. Or autocomplete or auto suggestion. Do you know how much time that saves somebody? You can show an employer that you can do that kind of thing. It's a little something, a checkbox that they'll look to learn and remember. We can also bridge people into paid internships or, full-time jobs. We had one intern that is now working as a mentor and just got a LIFT scholarship. Okay, the LFX has LIFT scholarships where they get education, training, and certifications for free, right? So that's a major benefit for them. This contributor ladder that we built, all right, people can move from mentee to mentor to maintainer, right? Build their own projects and et cetera. And of course, the added benefit of eminence. People get to put their name and face on social, on the socials and get out on the speaking tour, circuit. But there are some challenges, right? So hardware and software limitations. This is specifically true with students that are, in 4-year institutions, 2-year institutions. They don't have access to GPUs. They don't have 12 core systems. They don't have a lot of 32 gig of memory. So there's ways to get around that. But time constraints, balancing your coursework with your jobs or how you're paying for school. Steep learning curves. Kubernetes is not easy to learn. Git, much less. And the curriculum that they're starting off with puts them at kind of a disadvantage because they don't really have a full understanding of what's available to them or how to use it. So for us as an open source project, that's a high onboarding cost for us, right? The environments that they have alone are very low spec, so we've got to do something to improve that. There's also inconsistencies in contributions. People may fall off and not continue their internship because they get intimidated or feel frustrated. You got to look out for those people, right? And I'll show you how there might be some ways to do that. Mentorship bandwidth goes without saying. My time is limited, but I make myself as available as possible. And the unfamiliarity, easy for me to say, with team etiquette or contribution norms. And of course, code of conduct enforcement. You've got to be on the lookout for that. Okay, so for bridging the gap, we'd say, you have these dedicated onboarding tracks for students, like Corey's going to talk about in a little bit, where we have a 1 or 2 week introduction period before you actually jump into an open source project. Also, we collaborate with the faculty to get their courseware or their coursework in line with what OSS expects from a student. Of course, there's the project community. We have a responsibility, put up help wanted or good first issues. And then together, both faculty of the academic institution and ourselves in the open source, we can do supplementary or complementary learning opportunities, right? Have guest speakers or get LFX involved with their educational artifacts. So I'm going to wrap up here in these next slide or so, but really what the best practices for collaboration we feel are to set the expectations clearly and regularly, right? We have office hours or regular scrums and check-ins. Rely on asynchronous tooling like issues, PRs, and templates of the sort, templates for things like cloud hosts or cloud VMs, and have very well-defined beginner tasks. Now, what I wanted to close out with here is the actual findings. These are the bottom. This is for this generation of folks that are going to be contributing to your projects, okay? Social clout. That is just as valuable as money. I can't even quantify. It depends on who you're working with and where in the world they're from. In India, one of these courses and the stipend that they get is invaluable. A badge, a certificate, off the charts, even more than money. So remember that. You're dealing with a different generation. The opportunity in the contributor ladder. So we can go from an unpaid intern, which we typically do now to vet who we're going to pay as an intern. And then we ask them if they want to mentor a project themselves with paid interns. And then we ask them if they want to be a maintainer. I mean, this is tremendous opportunity, and it's endless. They can do whatever they want with it, you know, of course, under the guidance and within the guidelines of code of conduct. But it opens up this world of social artifacts that they can drop anywhere they want in any form they want, right? So, and the power of localized content, okay? I can't stress this enough. We were for a very long time just, you know, grabbing people out of the LFX. Most of them are coming from India and that area. We localized our user interface into Japanese, Chinese, traditional and simplified Chinese. 3 days later, we started getting contributors from the Asia Pacific region. Localized content is key. And invite mistakes. What is common in every piece of software that's out there today? Can anybody tell me? Bugs. Do not try to squash bugs. It's silly, it's stupid, they exist, you can't do anything about it. We put grammar mistakes inside of our content on purpose so that people will not feel intimidated to PR. Do not try to be perfect. It flies against everything you think is good in OSS. Okay, so in this last one, it's an eye chart, but I'm going to read it for you, I think. So this is somebody I got from a Georgia Tech student that I just mentored in the last. I gotta go down here. I can't even see it up there. So he just wrote this to me. This is 7:45 this morning. Okay, I'm writing to ask you if you write me a letter of recommendation for my applications to several masters in computer science programs. During my time under your mentorship at Koopsteller was one of the most impactful experiences of my undergraduate career. I gained a deeper understanding of what it means to be a developer, especially in the context of open source development. Your emphasis on documentation and collaboration helped me appreciate how critical those skills are, not just in contributing code, but in contributing meaningfully to a project and its community. That made me cry. That's the reward. So if you're looking for the golden ring, this is the way to do it. I mean, it really is special. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Leong.
I'll just leave my other mic off there, and I'll just keep this one on here. No, I think I can. Is it left, right? Yeah, I think I can figure that. Yeah, appreciate it, though. But Dr. Alexander failed to mention one thing. The way that I found him was through a tag meeting. I think he went to a meeting trying to find people to mentor, and I watched the video. I reached out to him, and the way that he got me was through a infomercial. He does. You remember those infomercials you do? Yeah, thank you. Thanks for not showing that. You know, late night infomercials that they have. But the whole point of that is that everyone sells. Everyone sells, no matter who you are. You have to sell to the contributors to have people join you and to work on your projects there. And that was my transition there from one to another. What I'm going to talk about are some of the things through my school, Valencia College, and what I'm experiencing teaching my students. I've been there for 3 years now. And I typically have a full load every semester. I teach all 3 semesters, fall, spring, and summer. And over the last 3 years, like Andy mentioned, I've hosted boot camps. And in these boot camps, I found these 4 major skill gaps with students. Linux, Git, programming. They know some Python, a lot of them Java. We don't have a Go programming course yet. And then Kubernetes, I just get the deer in the headlights when I mention that to my students, because we just don't have a course on that, and it's very steep learning curve there. But these are the 4 things that I'm trying to work on to help my students get better at and to prepare themselves for the workforce. I mean, that's my job, preparing them to get jobs out in the workforce. And to do that, I've come up with this sort of proposal of this student experience, this whole experience that I want my students to experience. We know the curriculum, right? They take courses, but they're also, they need certifications to prove what they know. They need the mentorships with the experts in the industry. They need the internships, again, with more experts on these projects. And then my sort of experimental last one here is the portfolio projects. I get people, students always asking me about, hey, what can I add to my portfolio to show, what I know? So those are the main points that I'm just gonna talk about here, and then we'll open it up for questions. But at this point right now, we partnered with AWS Academy back in 2022, so we have access to their courses and their labs for students to take. But then also in 2024, we partnered with Google Cloud, so we have access to their labs and courseware, and we're very thankful for both of them. Right now, we're working with the Oracle Academy to have access to their Oracle Cloud infrastructure, databases, and all their curriculum courseware to help our students. And then also we're working with the Linux Foundation for their courseware and content, Open Infra, working to renew our associate agreement with them. And then lastly, the Microsoft Learn that help students with the Azure platform. Because students need to touch these different type of platforms depending upon what areas and what careers they're going to go to. And that's why we want to, cover all the span of platforms out there. The courses that we teach align with the certifications. So right now you see the AWS certifications that our students can sit and then hopefully pass and achieve, but also working on the Certified OpenStack Administrator, the COA certification coming up, and then hopefully not too distant future, Kubernetes certifications through Valencia College. So my typical semester, so this semester I'm teaching these courses right here. The first 4 are cloud-based, 1, 2, let's see, cloud management, cloud developer, data center, yeah, okay, that's cloud. But the 4th one is machine learning, so that's AI related. But the other 2 courses that I want to really look at are the seminar in advanced software and the internship in computer technology software. The seminar I inherited from another professor, and a wonderful professor, but I had to rework some of it. I had to make it my own there. And I went from Arduino boards, who I didn't know anything about, to now I pushed it over to API, cloud API calls and using REST API. But let's look at that a little first. So I take that course and I allow students to do anything that they do a DIY project. They can do anything they want. Typically, they do something on the weather or cryptocurrency. All these kind of low-hanging fruit topics. I actually had to stop allowing weather because I had too many weather projects to watch at the end of the semester. But here's some other ones like health track and gaming statistics. So the majority of the students in this class do a DIY project, but some of the other ones I allow do mentorships, and these mentorships are with industry experts like Andy. And what we do is we onboard them to what they need to have on their machines, right? And also the tools that are installed on their machines. So I take this course and I kind of divide it up, and I allow students to be mentored semesterly, because that's how long I have students. I only have them from January to May, May to August, and then August to December. So that's how I have to mentor my students. But all of the students, no matter if they're doing a DIY or if they're doing a mentorship, they all have to send updates for their assignments, weekly updates. And what they do is they send me an update and they say what they worked on last week or the last 2 weeks, any blockers. So do you have any issues that's holding you back from progressing? And then the third one is, what are you planning to work on next? What's your plan to work on next? And I actually borrowed this from when I worked at Oracle. I did this for 8 years. I send an weekly update to my supervisor. What did I work on? What are my blockers? And what am I going to be working on next? And so the students send me those updates. I grade them. The mentors do not do any grading. I take that off their plate. They don't have to deal with any of that. And then at the end of the semester, they do a video presentation. And I don't really cap how long the video presentation is, because I like to see if how long they talk about their project, because I know if they really loved what they did on their project, they'll talk about it for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. The ones who don't do the project only talk for about a minute or 2 or 3 minutes. So that's sort of my little litmus test of who actually did their projects. And so here are some of the mentorships that we've offered. We started with the Red Hat, Open Infra, and OpenStack. On the Tempest project, Manila, we're still working with the Manila mentors. Andy with the Cube Stellar, and then just recently added OpenStack Magnum with the Stack HPC out of London. And I'm working with Canonical to see if I can get them to take a few students in the fall. They have a Sunbeam project that really looks cool, and I think the students will benefit from that. But besides mentoring, about a couple of years ago, the Internship for Workforce reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you take some students for internships?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? I'll take a few." And so 1 or 2 students for internships has now grown into 7, 8, 9 students that I oversee. So not only do I have mentorships in that seminar course, but I also have the internships also. And so what I do is, let's say Alice graduates in the summer, I try to tell Alice to take the seminar course in the spring, and then if she has 3 credits available for the summer, then do an internship. And so if she can set that up back to back, then she can get mentored with one of the industry experts for 1 semester in the spring, 4 months, and then continue on that project for another 3 to 4 months. So now we're talking 7 to 8 months on the same project. And that's what we want. We want them to collaborate with them. We want them to build rapport. We want them to really know, the deep insights of these projects, these open source projects. So that, I pull out my academic freedom card on that, and I have students go back to back on those. But for the interns, it's a little more formal. They have to sign timesheets, send in activity sheets. I have to create a custom learning plan with them. So they do the same work, but it's a little formal because I have to go through the internship office there. They still do a video presentations. They still send in weekly updates. And I think the thing that is held over all these students is they have to do all this for a grade. They need a grade. And typically that seminar course is the last one to graduate. So they have to do the work to graduate. All right. So I guess that's the beauty of teaching these courses there. Let's see. And then, so the last item is sort of experimental project portfolios. I'm setting up a open source project. I have a charter doc with the OpenStack Open Infra Foundation, and I research contact centers. And I recently went to a conference in Kissimmee, Florida, and learned all about the different vendors and who does what. There's Twilio, Google, Amazon Connect. But the one thing I didn't see was an open source project. So lo and behold, I created a project charter, and I'm going to have it reviewed by the technical committee by Open Infra, and see if I get this up to be an official OpenStack project for not only anyone who wants to contribute, but for my students too. See how I can feed them right in there, and then, hey, this is what we're going to do for this semester. Okay, I'll do a couple of PR, maybe a new feature, and it's all for a grade. The other one is I'm working on with Andy to roll out an open source project called Claire. This deals with the agents, the AI agents, and of course the AI agents would be where? In a contact center. See how that kind of builds on top of one another. The bottom layer would be OpenStack. Then you have Kubernetes. Then I think it was, Ray or Spark. I'm just borrowing this from the presentation from the other day, and then TensorFlow and PyTorch. Yeah. So working on that, see if I get that approved, and that'll be another OpenStack or another VC open source project. And then with those projects, then I can push for the OSPO. The VC Open Source Program Office, that would be the umbrella for the open source projects, and I can show that that's an impact on students. Their knowledge, their skills, and abilities will increase by working on these open source projects. So that's what's in the works. And with that, I thank you for your time. So I know you're all busy, and I appreciate your time, Andy. No, don't show the commercial. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Any questions? Any questions we can field? Yeah, Emily. We know you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So at this point, I'm using GitHub. So I would actually review their contributions, their submission. I'm really not a big fan of quizzes. I'm more of a fan of video presentations. So I would have them do some kind of video presentation, because not only I think it shows their creativity and how much effort they put forth, but I can always use the videos to show, no, it works. I could show my administrative staff, hey, listen, watch this video right here. It's on YouTube. Yeah, and it works. So I'm a big proponent for video presentations that they create using was it OSB Studio? I think that's an open source. Yeah. So that's my trick. I usually give them like 2 weeks at the end. And throughout the term, I'll have them create slides, like draft like an intro slide, draft what you worked on, and that way they actually have like a sequence of things to talk about in the video presentation. Of course, it's difficult to get them to actually do the slides, but I like video presentations because I can reuse them for on YouTube.
At Georgia Tech, we also work with in the IFOS, and they do a midterm presentation as well as a final. One of the ones that we found is a little bit more challenging is well, I won't name the university, but it grew to the extent they have like over 500 people in a seminar for a given semester. I really can't speak to how we backed away from it because we couldn't really, like you said, it's very hard to evaluate. Any other questions? So there's that localized content for Koopsteller. This was done we localized, internationalized Koopsteller's UI and got Japanese, French, Italian, German, Spanish, Chinese simplified and traditional, as well as Portuguese in 4 weeks. I have never been a part of a localization effort that went that fast. And it's just people just grafted on. You talk about people that are non-coders. This is a key value file, right? It has the name of the item that you're going to translate and then the English, and you just translate it. And we'd use CI to check, CI/CD pipeline to check and make sure that the English strings don't exceed the number of internationalized strings. So we know that there's a gap. So we know that maybe we missed some strings in Japanese or whatever. There's also one last thing I'll show you, and that was it. Let's see. I think I have this and then that. Yeah. So here's, if anybody's looking at grading kinds of possibilities, I shared this with Nate last week. He found this interesting. So here's each one of the lines that are in yellow. Those are interns that are on paid internships, and they actually turn into leads. So actually make them into kind of pseudo mentors. And then we have unpaid internships that want to graft on because they didn't get them they didn't get the menteeship. So they come up and they ask, can I join? Sure. Can you use the help, the lead? Sure. So it gets them into a better a capacity where they can actually mentor as well as mentee. And then there's so that the big one over here is help wanted issues. So I have a requirement that they should have 2 or more help wanted issues in the course of a 12-week period. And then the merged PRs. You can see some have more than others. And this automatically monitors each of the repos that we have in our project and is updated on a regular basis. So we can give read access to the mentees. They see exactly what's going on, and it's completely transparent in terms of grading. And then I just put an X in a box next to each one of our Scrum calls. and then it adds up automatically and gives them a total grade. They can see exactly how they're progressing throughout. It's completely transparent. So automation is a key to this, right? This is how we'll scale in the future. I don't foresee us getting any more past 20 or 25 of people any given term. I think that'd be irresponsible, at least at this level of what we're doing. But they can make up their own projects. They can start their own repositories if they want. You keys to the castle, go for it. You got to be careful with that kind of, openness, and, some people might take advantage of it. So you got to, trust but verify, I would say, is a very good mantra in this space. Yeah, so that's the way I'd leave it with you. But if you give them a lot of free leeway to do whatever they want, you'd be surprised at what they're able to accomplish. Yeah, Pono. Uh-huh. Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is really cool because I think this is, when I was telling you earlier, we had 6 projects, right? Nate's here. He can attest. He thinks I'm crazy for taking on this many, but I'll be throwing more at him. But so what we did is we got 420 plus applications. I can't evaluate all this, and most of it's AI these days. Thank you, sir. So basically what we did is we encouraged the unpaids to come on so that they get preferred treatment as a paid in the next semester. So there's that role, right? Then we take the paids that roll out and we ask them to be mentors and create their own project. That's a 60% to 70% recurrence rate. That's amazing because I only go by rule of thirds. So to get twice that is excellent. So yeah, that's the way you have to think about it. Contributor ladder. And I think Nate has an idea for something called a flywheel. I think I might have just given that away, but stay tuned. There's a lot of this type of thing coming up. Thank you, Pano. All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, Dr. Leong.